Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold.
Hello. I'm Rob.
Hi, Joan.
Are you Les?
Hi, Les.
I'm here. I'm Les.
Is Beth coming?
She's
We're on the air, guys.
maybe a little bit.
This is a rocky start.
Well, Robin.
Yeah, we lost track. I'm sorry. We just lost track of when it was all happening. We've been so busy with everything that.
Paul
Hi,
Hollis
Paul.
says, evening, fellow ghosties.
Hi, Paul.
Well,
Hi.
I know that Joe Conjul has been really Marjorie Deering says, present and accounted for.
Hello, Marjorie.
Joe Conjul really wanted to see the show tonight because he's really interested in Gettysburg, but he was supposed to be on a podcast last night and they had technical issues, so he's going to have to be on it tonight. So I don't know if he'll be able to join us or not.
Hi, Laura.
But
how are you doing?
oh, hi, Laura. How are you?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
This is not how we normally start, but it's
No.
okay once in a while, right? A little bit different.
Sorry.
And kind of going with the flow.
So were you able to get any video?
Well, I looked through some. I looked through about half of it, but I didn't. Like I say, I didn't realize it was this week. Even we've been so busy at the school and stuff that.
That's all right. We can pick it up another week if we find some good footage.
Okay.
In August, it's not going to be the last Thursday either, but I guess we better start reminding people like the week before or something.
Remind me.
We will. George Desmuke says, boo, I'm
Hi,
here.
George.
Hey,
Hi, George.
Kind of scary.
Jess is here.
Hey, Jess.
Yay.
Hi, Jess.
Well, this is not our normal night, everybody, so we're
Sorry about that.
further along in the month, and that's okay. No problem. All right.
All right. We had a lot of exciting things happen at Gettysburg, and we do have some film we want to show you. We have a lot of film, but we're only going to do about 8 minutes of it.
Right.
We have a really great recording. I don't think you can hear it, and it's too bad because it's really cool, but we couldn't download it onto this computer. So maybe first, anybody want to talk about their experiences in Gettysburg? Like Robin or Joy, it was your first investigation. You want to kind of tell people what it was like?
Go ahead. You go first, Rob.
Sure. Okay. I have to say, because I think I said it to you, that when we went, I wasn't really sure, how it would be, because any experience I've had before has been like unexpected, and this was, we're going and actually we're doing an investigation, and I really was like, oh, if something happens, it happens, and then it just started all happening. And yeah, it was a great evening. So I enjoyed it, and it was amazing, basically.
Which was your favorite, Jenny Wade house or the orphanage?
I didn't get to go to the orphanage.
Oh, you
Remember,
didn't? That's right.
She only got to go to Jenny Wade.
Right.
So that
okay,
was
how
her
about
favorite.
that? Or did you go out on the battlefields with us at all?
Nope.
No, all you did
No,
was
she
okay.
just drove up for
All right,
Jenny
that's
Wade.
right.
Drove
That's right.
home in the middle of the night,
Give me a break.
which was scary enough.
Were you scared?
No, I was talking about driving.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's scarier than ghosts. That's
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
driving at night, too.
yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
What was the most outstanding thing to you when we were at Jenny Wade House? The thing that, Joe Conjul just popped in. He said, hi, everyone, here for a
Hi,
few
Joe.
while waiting to be on Voice of Indy.
Got the right shirt on either.
Okay. The fact that we got so many responses. And then later on, when you had looked things up afterwards, how dead on they all were.
I
That
know.
was it was astounding.
For example, we heard Sam's son, and turns out her son was named Sam.
So it wasn't Samson,
It wasn't Samson, but it was Sam's
Right.
son.
which is what we first thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of things like that. It was really interesting. You want to play those first few minutes so Joe can see them before he has to pop off? Then
Sure.
we can hear from Joy.
Sure.
Okay, this is just a little bit of what happened downstairs at the Jenny Wade
Yes,
house.
will you please turn the flashlight back? That's where you wanted it.
That noise you hear there, did you see someone just turn on the flashlight?
Hi, Georgia. Georgia, are you also turning the REM pod on? If Anna's also turning the REM pod on, could you please turn the flashlight off?
The REM pod is that device on the floor in the other room.
If that's you turning that on and doing the flashlight, please turn the flashlight off.
It's too bright.
Anybody walking on the floor?
Oh.
Good job.
Yes, she's doing both.
Good job.
She's doing both.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Okay, step away from the REM pod, Georgia. If you step away, it'll stop.
There you go.
Thank
Thank
you. Oh, okay, does someone have another question?
Were you in the home when Jenny was shot?
If the answer is yes, you can either turn the REM pod on again, or you can turn the flashlight on, whichever one you prefer to use. Thank you very much. Oh, you were, I'm so sorry you were in the home when that happened. Okay, step away from, we understand, step away from the REM pod, go off. Oh, geez, oh.
Wow.
Good job. Amazing.
It looks like you want to talk to us as much as we want to talk to you.
Yes. Okay, I have another question. Did your husband come home from the war? If he did, and I hope he did, please turn the flashlight off. Or you can turn the REM pod on if he came home from the war.
That's not good.
No.
Georgia, are you still waiting for your husband to return? If you are, please turn off the flashlight or turn on the REM pod.
No, I'm so sorry, Georgia.
That's sad. And stop there.
I'm so sorry.
Didn't it go on for a while longer, I think.
Wow, where do we go from there?
The timer.
Oh, sorry
Wow.
that I asked that question.
It
It just occurred to me though.
oh, that was a good question. She thought it was a good question too.
You can pause it here. Okay, there's a lot more on that.
Yeah.
Paul Hollis said, "Is that a pit bull's head in the
No,
foreground?"
that's the front of the camera
That's
rig.
the front of the camera rig. It's a big rig.
It's a big rig.
So just so everybody that's watching knows, when we ask questions and they turn the flashlight on and off, it often takes them a long time to be able to turn the flashlight on or turn it off. So you just have to sit there and be patient and wait.
In this case, they were using not only the flashlight, but the REM pod that was in the adjacent room was open to us. So they were using both to communicate.
Joe says, "Wow, that's pretty amazing." It's really amazing, Joe. It's we had so much activity in that house that we think that Robin and Joy are wrecked for the rest of any paranormal investigations that they go on, because that REM pod, that noise that you hear in the background, that beeping kind of noise, that constant that's the REM pod. That's why when we said, "Georgia, will you please step away from the REM pod?" and she did, we said, "Thank you," because she'd been standing by it so long. But she was constantly going from the REM pod to the flashlight. I mean, all night long, answering many questions. It would take a long time to view all of that.
Yeah. It moves slowly. Ghost hunting is not the exciting thing that they make it look like after, because most of the TV shows, they film for a week in one location.
And then they
chop it all up and put it all together, and it looks like they're walking from one room and discovering something and going to the next room and discovering something when they've been sitting there for hours and sometime overnight,
Let's show the photograph before Joe has to leave.
All right.
We were showing this to Joy and Robin before the show started.
Here's our photograph that we caught. All right, this is at nighttime on Confederate Way in Gettysburg. It was almost dark. It was still light enough. The sky was a little bit light there. If you look on in your picture at the cannon that's on the left-hand side of the picture, down, if you look at the cannon above the wheel and below the cannon itself, where the cannonballs shoot out of, there's a figure there. You can see him.
And actually, we used a magnifying glass, and so did Joy and Robin. And if you use a magnifying glass, if you have one handy, you can see him pretty clearly. And it actually looks like there's another figure to the left of him, just out of the screenshot there.
If you have a touch screen, that helps, because if you make the picture bigger like that too.
Yeah. If you can blow it up.
So we're not real sure that that's what that is.
But that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like, and it's the only picture that had anything like that. And we took numerous pictures along that road at night.
And you can see his legs extended in front of him, and
his shoes underneath the cannon.
Joe said, "Wow, it's a man." Yeah, it looks like a man.
A soldier.
Looks like a man wearing a cap, smoking a cigarette, and his legs are just straight out in front of him. Okay, that's pretty cool. Paul said, "Is that figure life size to the cannon?" Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
He's down on the ground in front of it.
He's down on the ground, like half laying down, leaning against that tree that you can see with his feet out in front of him.
And the red part there is the axle of the cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And so right below that, you see his feet.
Yeah.
Good luck, Joe. Sorry we can't be there.
Have a great time, Joe. At least you got to see these pictures.
Yeah, well, you can watch the show.
Yeah, you can watch the show later.
Anyway.
Anybody have any questions? Anyone in the audience, I mean. Okay, there's a comment here. Who knows? I may be back if we can't get in.
That's true. You can never.
I hope that they don't
have technical difficulties today.
Difficulties again.
So, Joy, this was your first investigation. Tell us,
Yes, and it did not disappoint.
can you tell us a little bit about your experiences and which one you preferred, or which one you like better or not?
Well, I obviously I like the Jenny Wade better because I mean, not only was there like nonstop activity because Jess and I were upstairs and there we were in a child's room and we were having a very lively conversation very quickly with a little boy. And we also had Les had brought some like little lucite balls that you could see through, but they had little red and blue lights inside them. They were cat balls that you just get at a pet store. Then when you move them at all, the lights come on. And so we had some of those also. And when Jess started asking the questions initially, and the first time that she asked a question, and almost instantly that flashlight came on, and the what do you call the REM rod or whatever
REM
REM pod came on, and at the same time, and I was like so stunned. She was leaning by me, and I about knocked her down, about poked her eye out. I was like so stunned. But we she asked a lot of questions, and I mean, it was like off and on. He very quickly figured out how to turn that off and on. And we asked him if he wanted to play with the balls, and instantly the balls came on. And
Yeah.
I was just like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And my husband Terry was with us, who's a skeptic, and because he was floating between the two, upstairs and down. And I thought his jaw was going to drop off. But the thing is that even though we were communicating, and it was that there was almost a welcoming spirit, there was nothing dark.
Mhm.
And that's why I really enjoyed that between the two, because the orphanage was very dark. I mean, that was a whole different thing. But yeah, you could not have made a better experience. And they were like, the first thing they said is, Joy, don't ever expect us to have it again. You're going to be disappointed. But it was pretty amazing.
So you said Terry was a skeptic.
Yes.
Is he still a skeptic?
No, he's okay, something happened and I can't explain it. So,
Okay.
So I'm not going to say it didn't happen because it did happen.
Well, that's the first step, right?
But when it was almost like overwhelming upstairs, he went downstairs. I think he thought it was going to be more rational, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
No,
So,
just as crazy crazier.
Yeah,
probably.
it was just as crazy downstairs.
Yeah.
And he's like, I cannot believe this. And what was interesting is one of the things they said when we first went in is, last night they really didn't they got some activity downstairs, but they really didn't get anything upstairs. And it was like the door was open, wasn't it, Jess?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And one of the cool things about that experience for me was we were upstairs, and this investigation was crackling from the jump, right? I feel like immediately it was like, oh well, we're in it, and it went very quickly. The staff there was so lovely. What was his name? The guy that helped us there.
Oh,
Can we remember?
Mr. Helcher.
Aren't we terrible? I
No.
can't remember either.
I want to say Rick. Was it
Oh,
Rick?
Rick.
There was a Rick, and then there was another
The
guy.
other guy. Yeah.
What? Sorry, it was a whirlwind, but he was so lovely, and he let us stay late And
Oh,
he's
very
an
late.
investigator as well. And so he was like, I get it. Like, I don't mind. This is like fun for me. Like, take your time. So he was really lovely. And so that was great. That was like first things first, having like the alive person there be so welcoming and kind and lovely and understanding of investigators, and that was great. And then just like let us go, let us do our thing, and was like, have fun. um and one thing that I thought was really interesting was we were upstairs investigating and so much was happening, and we ended up going down into the basement. And in the basement, they have it set up so it looks like the memorial for Jenny. And so they have like a mannequin set up, and they have it so it would have looked in the days following her passing before she was buried. And they have a beautiful painting there that depicts the family all gathered around her. And when we went down there, the energy was completely different. It was just quiet and calm and silent. Like there was nothing happening whatsoever. And so we stayed down there a few minutes. We asked a few questions, and finally, like after a few minutes, I looked around at Les and I looked at Joy, and I was like, "Her energy is here. Do you want to
Very
stay?" And everyone went,
wonder if she can.
"No, I'm not experiencing anything. Let's go back upstairs." And so we did. We went back upstairs, and the energy as soon as you got into the house was just it felt like a crackling energy, like almost like you could feel it physically, like a buzzing. Um, so it was very cool. It was a cool experience.
I think the voices that we're hearing in the background might be Terry listening
Let me
to.
see if I can tell him to turn that down.
So,
It
I
was pretty
mean,
loud.
She can always mute herself until she
yeah,
wants
she
to
can
talk.
mute herself when
I'm sorry. Actually, he's in a whole different part of the house. So that's when you need to go so further away.
Oh my!
Oh, now we can't hear it. What did he do? Turn it off or something?
No, he went further in the house.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Well,
All right.
that made a big difference.
He went down to these Starbucks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the kitty cat.
Oh,
So, which one was your favorite,
I
Joy?
don't want to see that.
It was the Jenny Wade.
Wade.
That was
Wade.
definitely.
I think
And
hands
one really
down.
kind of cool thing is because when we decided we were going to try to move to another room upstairs, and I think Jess asked if that he told him, he said, is it okay if we go to another room, and or let us know? Well, everything lit up at one time, and she says, well, I guess we better stay a few minutes because he doesn't want us to go.
There was
So
also another time where had been asking questions, and then everything went quiet. And so we had decided to move to another room upstairs. And so I said, okay, we're going to go in the other room. And I said, if you would like us to come back and talk to you, light up the REM pod and we'll hear it and we will come back. And so we went into the other room and we set up and we started getting things ready. And we sat down and asked a question. And I mean, like we barely sat down and the REM pod in the other room went off. And I turned to Joy and I went, I said we would come back if they set off the REM pod. So I'm sorry, we have to go back in there. I don't want to not keep my word. So we went back, and and it seemed like at that point it was like, oh, okay, I don't want you to leave. So I'm gonna interact now. So it was just very funny because it was as soon as we got in the other room, boop, in the other room, we're like, oh, okay, well.
We should mention that was a little boy that you were talking to. This wasn't an
Yes.
adult or even a young man. It was a little boy,
Yeah.
and definitely wanted the attention and the time. What was,
Yeah.
Beth, at Jenny Wade, what was your favorite thing that happened?
I, not that it was my favorite, but I was it was very sad when Georgia said she was still waiting for her husband to come home.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that really made an impression on me, and I felt really bad for her.
I did too. That was,
And I was
that
hoping
was
that
hard.
in the afterlife they could find one another.
Yeah.
I just, some things you don't understand, right? Because it's like, why is she staying there? Why is she there? Why can't she go on and be with him? You know? That's always hard though. It's like when we did the investigation at in Tennessee at that hospital, and that little boy was there, and he wouldn't leave either. He wouldn't pass on, and it's like, oh, just a little guy. But what was the most outstanding thing for you, Robin?
Um, Actually, there were a couple things. One was, and I think, Beth, you had the same experience where we both got poked at this in the same place on our arms. That was because it wasn't like your sleeve moved or a hair slithered off your head down your arm. It was like a poke. And so that was interesting. And also at one point I remember going out into the other room because I just felt like something was out there. You came out because I started to get like a pain in my head and dizzy, and you were like, are you okay? And as soon as I left that area and went back where we were, I was fine. So I have no idea what that was, but it impressed me. I won't say it was my favorite part, but
Yeah.
it impressed me. But
Yeah.
also when oh, what were we asking Georgia about? Well, I remember I asked her if she had given birth to a healthy baby, and
Yes, you did.
and she had, and I remember feeling so much better about that because the rest of it seemed so sad. But the fact that her baby was born despite all of that and was healthy, it
We
was.
have that on video. That video that we showed, we have that part on there where you asked that.
Okay.
And we all said to her, congratulations and everything. And she seemed really happy then. You could feel. And that's
Yes.
something I want to mention too, is that we could sense in that room what she was feeling and trying to express before the flashlight turned on or off or the REM pod turned on or off. You could feel. She was very good at communicating. The docent who was there, and I want to say his name was Rick, but it may not have been. That might have been the guy at the orphanage. But anyway, he the last thing that
It
he
was
said.
Rick. It was Rick and Tom.
Okay,
Very good. Yay.
that's
Very
right.
good.
That's right. Tom was at the orphanage. Okay, so
Just came to
Rick
me.
turned around and he said, "Oh, and that rocking chair is George's, and if you sit in it, she'll knock you out of it." So I said, I want to be knocked out of a rocking chair. So I went over and immediately sat in it. But I did ask first. I said, Georgia, may I sit in your rocking chair? And then sat down. And as soon as I sat down, I felt heat in my back. I mean, like a lot of heat. And I mean, there was no heat there. There was no heat on or anything.
It was
And
air conditioned, actually.
it was air conditioned. Yeah, it was really nice. And so I asked Q, who was standing near me. Whoa. I stop. I asked Q, who was standing beside me, to touch my back and see if it was hot. And she said, yeah. And then I said, how about the back of the chair? And she said, no, she touched my back and she said, no, it's not hot. And I said, but I can feel heat. And she said, it feels perfectly normal. And I said, but it really feels like I'm burning up. And so then I said, what about the chair? And she said, no, that's cold too. So then everyone else took a turn sitting down in there. And guess what? It happened to everybody, didn't it?
Yeah.
Y'all had that same thing happen, right?
And it was a
Yeah, 'cause
spin up
I
back
reached,
chair.
yep, I reached around behind my back. My t-shirt was cold. The blanket was cold, but
Yep.
my skin was hot.
Hot, really hot.
Yeah. It was
And
like sitting down on something that was suddenly cuddling you with warmth, because you could feel it in your hips, you could feel it in your back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were sitting in her lap, maybe. You know?
And Joy, you took the EMF detector, didn't you? And
Yes.
and what happened there when you went behind the rocking chair?
Well, I'm pretty sure that it went off. When I did it, that it was in the reds.
Yeah. It went all the
I
way
can't
up to
remember
the red.
exactly where I put it on there, but yeah. And mine was, it didn't go all the way down, but I was just leaning back like this. But from like midway up to my shoulders, it was just really hot. And it's just a wooden spindle, and I'm like, how's that? How's that happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody felt it. So she must have been there. And the whole time we were upstairs, we had no idea what was going on downstairs. And but we were hearing noise and bells and stuff. And so yeah, when Terry came back up, he said, "Oh, it's just as active down there." He hadn't found his comfort zone yet.
Can I leave now?
Well, what's really funny on that that video that we showed, when you get further into it, you can hear Jess and Joy quite clearly. It was when Jess was doing the Estes method, and Joy, you were asking the questions. And Jess was answering very animatedly, and Joy was just as excited asking the questions.
Well, it was so much. I mean, and I've seen it done before, but I had like 10 or 12 questions, and I was asking my questions, and it's almost like Jess was answering exactly for him, exactly as soon as I said it. Because, usually there's, like a wait time or anything. And it's like that she would respond with something like within seconds to that. So I was like busy trying to write new questions because she's just popping out these things, and it was like, do you play? And then, she would be something like, with kids outside, or, I don't remember exactly the words, but it was just so right on that's why I was so excited. And I'm like, okay, somebody give me some more questions. I can't think of any more, because it was just like having a conversation with somebody.
Les, you
cool.
filmed that, didn't you, the Estes method?
Yes.
So maybe we can watch that at some point.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. I had 2 cameras up there, and I've gone through the one, but it wasn't the one in the kids' room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We do have stuff from where we went into the basement. We didn't stay long, but we went in the basement and come back out. And the other room where we had it was nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was pretty close to the front on that one, and maybe we can show that at some point too, where he turned all the lights on. I mean, he had, and then the noisy thing was going off. I mean, and it just kept buzzing. And finally, Jess was just very frustrated. She says, "Can you turn that off?" And boom, the noise. We didn't hear we didn't hear the buzzer again, but the lights kept flashing.
Yeah.
So it was just, some of that stuff was just so wild. But at one point, he was answering with everything, turning everything on at one time.
all in same time in sync. For me, like doing the Estes method was really interesting because that's the first time that I had ever heard a child's voice very clearly come through on the Estes method. And it was like, it was a very, very clearly a child's voice. And usually when I'm doing the Estes method, like I don't know, I've never heard a kid's voice come through at all, like any of the radio station stuff or whatever. I mean, if you think about it, you don't really hear a child's voice on the radio. So um, it was shocking, like for me, because it was very clearly a child, and they said, "Mommy," but they
Yeah.
said it in like a very they were kind of calling out mommy, like, you know, and it, yeah, it was like wild, you know.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah, so
That's
upstairs
sorry.
and downstairs, we were crazy busy. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
It
really
was.
We've never been in any investigation like that before.
I don't remember.
Usually you
one.
sit there and it's quiet and kind of fall asleep a little bit.
Mhm.
Get real tired.
Yeah, I was wide awake. I mean, I drove all the way home.
Joe Conjal said,
Yeah.
"Notice I'm on YouTube. Might as well get
Might
used
as
to
well
it."
get used to it.
We're off of Facebook on our other podcasts
Right.
because of issues. And Joe says, "I'm back. Technical difficulties again tonight. They're going to hopefully find a new network and reschedule me when I return from New York after Labor Day. Very frustrating."
Cool.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you're here to
Yes.
hear all this.
Welcome back.
So we had
I'm sorry, I just said before I forget, we got a text that somebody that got here a little late wanted to see the picture before you leave again of the cannon. If you could put, before we go, if you could put
Before
that
we're
up.
done, well, we could look at it
we
right now.
can look
if you
at it
want.
right
Yeah,
now.
Sure.
Why not?
I'll have to go into the vault. I'll be back. Okay, there's the picture.
Okay, you want to explain again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cannon on the left side of the picture, above the wheel, the left wheel, and below the cannon barrel, there's a figure there, a person's head and body, and then the red is like that's the axle. That's the way the light is reflecting off the axle, and then you can see the person's feet down underneath there.
If you have a magnifying glass, I suggest you
does
use
help.
that because you can really see it better with the magnifying glass.
Or if you have a touch screen and you can make the picture bigger.
Yeah.
Then there's a giant
Enhance.
bullet over on the right-hand side.
That's a monument.
Oh, okay.
It's not a giant bullet.
Oh,
That's very powerful bullet.
But when we send it to Les and Beth, they're the ones that said, "It looks like he's smoking a cigarette." And we looked at it more closely and we said, "Oh, it does. It looks like
It
there's a
does.
cigarette hanging out of his mouth." But yeah.
Anyway,
That was taken at night or just after it got
as
dark?
the sun had already just gone down on the horizon, so the sky is a little bit light in the distance there. But that's the way the camera picked it up.
It was after everybody else had left Gettysburg, and Rob and I were there all by ourselves.
Peaceful, quiet.
So we ran out and did naughty things and ran around on the battlefield at night when you're not supposed to.
There you go.
Now,
And-
Jess is shaking her head, but I seem to remember, wasn't she like tiptoeing out onto the?
Oh, well, that was before. That was right after Jenny Wade. That was before we even went to the orphanage. Yeah. Les and Jesse.
I was shaking my head at the phrasing is all. Now we ran around and did naughty things.
naughty
I'm like,
things.
oh, can
Only
we
because
please?
it's closed at nighttime.
That was the naughty part. Jesse. Yep, she's my daughter. What can I tell you? Okay. Yeah.
Now,
Joe
see,
says, describe naughty things, LOL.
I thank you.
We went
Please
onto the battlefield at
clarify.
night, and you're not supposed to go on the battlefield after sunset. But lesson just started
they
it.
broke the law.
They started it.
They did start it. But I have
Harmless.
to admit,
We were
Beth
respectful.
led us down the garden.
Beth was the instigator. Yeah.
Beth was the instigator, and then Beth promptly threw us under the bus. We're like, oh, I see how it is.
Oh, seriously, every time I think about it. We were going to Iverson's Pit because when we had been there
Which is a
earlier,
battlefield.
it's a battlefield. Iverson's
Yeah.
Pit. It's not a pit. I don't know why they
There's
call
no
it that.
vipers or anything.
Yeah.
No.
It's a battlefield. And we had been there earlier, that maybe the day before, during the day, and really all of the sensitives pick stuff up on that battlefield. So we decided to go back at night so we could, get better pictures. And it was Beth's idea to go back at night. So Rob and I followed them, and
Yes. We didn't
and
get
we're
lost
in a
'cause we
big
followed
truck
them.
now because we pull a big trailer. So we're in this 2,500 truck, and they're in a nice little Lexus,
Nice car.
a nice car, yes, but it's
Reasonably sized
a reasonably sized
vehicle.
Lexus, and he leads us in the wrong way, which everyone can attest to the fact that is what we did the whole week,
And that is against the law too, by the way.
going the wrong way.
And
We're going the
dangerous,
wrong
highly
way
dangerous.
in the battlefield at night, late at night at this point, and we can see a squad car in front of us, parked, with his lights on. So we were like, uh-oh. Les turns around on this narrow little one-way street, and mind you,
I'm out of here.
now, mind you, he didn't leave though. Mind you, there are monuments on either side.
But he was the first to turn around now, wasn't
Yes, he did.
Okay, yeah.
And then we're trying to maneuver that huge truck to not knock over a monument, because pretty sure the squad would have been very angry at us at that point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Beth is texting, abort, abort. I see it's a popo. She isn't even in Gettysburg anymore, is going, because she's on this whole feed that we have going along with everybody in the group, is going, what are you talking about? What popo? So then Beth goes, so anyway, Rob, Jess, and Les all went out into the battlefield. I paid tribute and stayed with our dog so it wouldn't bark like
Good job,
crazy
good
if I jumped out of the truck. Beth stayed in the car, and she texts and she goes, I have a backup plan. And so
Well, first she got out.
Yes.
Right, Beth?
For a minute.
Got out for a minute. And I walked over and I said, are you feeling anything? And she said, no. And I said, okay. And then she said, I'm too scared. And I was like,
Of the
not
police.
of the spirits.
Not of the ghosts.
Of the
of the police.
Of the police.
So
And
she
I
said,
started to laugh. And then she went and got back in the car. And she texted us.
I have a backup plan. I said, what's the plan? And she goes, I was napping. I didn't know what they were doing. I was napping. Sound asleep in the car.
Throw us all under the bus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be working for you only.
Every man for himself.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
We know
Don't
who's
worry,
going
you're
to
still
take.
with us. So.
Yeah, we
Oh
know
my
who's
God.
going to take the plea agreement for sure.
Anyway,
I think she's going to crack.
Definitely.
honestly, it was it was a lot of fun. That was all silly stuff, but there was so much activity that wasn't silly stuff that it was really amazing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that everywhere you walk there, every place on the battlefield, seriously, it's very sombering, and you can feel it. You can feel the atmosphere. It's rough. It's pretty
heavy.
rough,
Yeah,
actually. It's heavy.
Yeah, everywhere you go,
I
except
think
the
they
ice
call
cream.
it the pit because they dug, that's where, when that huge battle happened, that they dug down and just piled thousands of bodies in there and closed them up. But
And there's
Yeah.
still bodies there. They dug some of them
Exhumed
up
most of
and
them,
sent them
yeah.
home, but
Yeah.
they weren't able to identify everyone, so they just left them there.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty sad.
Yeah.
Gettysburg is very sad, actually.
Yeah.
Then we
Now
went to the orphanage.
Yeah, at the
Oh.
orphanage. Go ahead, Jesse. You had something?
No, I was just gonna say that was a totally different experience.
Mhm.
So I was just gonna say ask people's experiences at the orphanage.
Well, I happen to have one. It was a
Perfect.
personal experience, although I think Beth did hear it as well. I have hearing aids, and we were all sitting down in the basement. It was very quiet. And all of a sudden, my left ear, I got a whole bunch of feedback, electronic feedback in my left ear. It was really loud. I mean, Beth could hear it. She was sitting a foot away from me or so, but she could hear it. And then it calmed down and it swung around and went by this ear. Now, the only time, and then it left, and it wasn't quite as loud in this ear. The only time that's ever happened is if I put my hand, and I can do it right now, and I can stand it. It's not that loud, but by touching it is the only way that you get that feedback. Walking around, being around electronics, there's no other time. It's never done it before. It's never done it after. So there was something coming very close to my ear and then coming around by this ear and then going on that direction over toward you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what it was. It was checking out my brain or something. I don't know what it was doing, or what the
Checking out your
significance
brain.
is. But it's never happened again or before. So it's not there's nothing wrong with the hearing aids.
Well, maybe they were just curious about hearing aids.
I was gonna say the same thing. If
Could
they're
be.
kids, maybe they're touching
Yeah.
the hearing aids and like, what is this? You know, there's
Yeah,
one here,
maybe
there's one
then, yeah.
here.
It's
Yeah.
sort of the same principle, almost a similar principle to the REM pod, where they touch, the antenna and it goes off. The equipment goes off, so it's very similar.
Joe Conjal said, did you guys go to the museum? And if so, are any of the items that have been found or dug up over the years haunted? We didn't go to the museum on this trip. We've been there before. Have any of you experienced anything in the museum that would say it's haunted?
No, I have not.
Me
But
either.
Joy, I think you went to a shop.
Yeah, I went to one that was where they actually were selling things. But I guess when you have 50,000 soldiers die, they have a lot of the relics. And this place was just full, absolutely full of authentic things. And they call it a museum, but they sell it. And going in there, I mean, first of all, you walk in and it's absolutely oppressive. And as I started walking back, there was like a miniature, like a miniature soldier's outfit. Okay. And I thought, oh, I guess so their little boy could wear one too, or something. It was they actually had 13, 12-year-old soldiers. And this one was a Confederate, I think, soldier's outfit. And it was just so, and even seeing the soldiers, because they were so small, but as you went around and you saw these different things, there was actually a box with the doctor's saws and surgical stuff. And I guess there were so many people that are soldiers that lost limbs that they used butchers too, and so that there were some of those boxes, or the original boxes that were there. And I tell you, by the time I got to the back and there was another room, I didn't realize it, but just tears were just running down my eyes. And I mean, it was just the absolutely most oppressive place. And we went to the other side, and I mean, I was just getting where I couldn't breathe. And I just said, Terry, I got to get out of here. I mean, he was fascinated with all the stuff. I said, I can't stay in here anymore. And I mean, when I left, I was just a wreck. That it was just, I mean, it just brought everything so real, and it was just so oppressive. It was like you could just feel it closing in on you. It was just, I don't know how they could sit there and sell it all day long. It was just very tough.
Yeah.
Which
So
is the
you,
reason
so
I don't usually go to places like that. It's very hard. It's very hard to get through that.
because there is residual stuff there that's attached to the items. In answer to your question, Joe. Joe said, and I'll bet some of those kids wanted to fight and be a part of that back then, which is sad. It is.
sad,
It is
Yeah.
sad.
Well, go with Daddy to war. I mean, yeah, that sounds like most kids, because they idealize what that is.
Yeah. It's awful.
Didn't your great grandfather or your grandfather, Mom, lie about his age
Yeah.
to enlist at like
My
14 or
grandfather,
something?
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He became a Marine, said he was 17, and he went to the
He
Banana
was
Wars
14.
in Haiti. He was 14. And then after the Banana Wars in Haiti, then he went to France for World War I, and was shot multiple times, and some of the shrapnel they were never able to take out. But that was my grandfather.
But yeah, so I'm sure you're right, Joe.
But now, what happened to my grandfather and his sister was that both of their parents died, and so then their grandparents were raising them, and their grandparents were killed in a carriage accident. The carriage overturned, the horses were scared, and they both died. And so they were put into a home, and the home was tobacco farmers. And they had a bunch of kids in this home, and all the kids had to work in the tobacco fields. And they would have dinner, and the kids would all get porridge, which is like oatmeal, and they would be eating steak and potatoes, the husband and wife that owned this farm. And my grandfather, for the rest of his life, once he grew up and he was a man, he fed everybody that came into his house, whether you wanted to eat or not. He made sure that everybody ate, and that no child sitting at his table was going to have hamburger if he was having steak. If they were having steak, everybody had steak. And but yeah, he fought when he was 14. So I'm saying his motivation was to get out of that place.
Yeah.
And to pay for his sister to stay with somebody else, which is what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Joan, do you want to tell them what the orphanage was actually about, the history of that, and why that was such a dark place?
Yeah. Okay. So the orphanage was supposed to be for the children in the orphans in town, and they had given it this woman the money to run it, and she was very abusive. She would chain them up in the basement, and she was just horrible to them. And people eventually found out what was going on in there, and they ran her out of town. But she would come back. She would keep coming back. And we felt that she was there the night that we were there. We were there, and was really suppressing what the kids were able to say and do. So she's still death is bothering those children, which makes me very angry.
I think other people have had that experience, like people
Mhm.
like what's his name, like Adam and Amy, when they were there, they had the same experience.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Did they? Kindred
yeah,
spirits?
yep, yep.
That she suppressed the kids and wouldn't let them talk? Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm
Well,
remembering correctly, yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Uh, it
You
was
can feel it
interesting
in the
because
atmosphere.
when we got there, usually like when we get to an investigation, I like to, and a lot of us do this, but like I like to go around with an EMF detector and check out if there are any areas where EMF is occurring because of like wiring in a lot of old buildings and stuff. You can find a lot of little hotspots for EMF. And that's not anything paranormal. So it's nice to, before you start investigating, get an idea of where the EMF is. And I was in the area just at the stairs that went down to the basement,
Yes.
and there was an EMF field, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And so I was checking the walls and all the areas that I could have, there were some lights and things like that, and nothing was triggering it and that I could find. And the interesting thing is it was about like my, like up to like my chest about height. So honestly, like about the size of my 9-year-old daughter, like about that height. And that's where the EMF field stopped. So anything above that was, there was nothing, no reading on my device, but anything from there down, there was a high EMF field. And so I called my mom and Beth over, and I was like, I think that there's maybe something here because I can't figure out where this is coming from. And, I was showing them the EMF. And so we were asking questions, and I was like putting my hand out and I was saying, hey, like, if you want to touch my hand, and if there's somebody here, hello, we're just here to see you and talk to you. And Beth, Beth was talking, and Beth said, I think Beth said it, or did you say it, Mom?
No, I said it.
You said it. Okay.
Yeah.
Beth said, "Hi, and I'm Beth, and we're just we're introducing ourselves." And Beth said, "And I'm a teacher." And when she said, "I'm a teacher," whew, the EMF field gone. And we were like, "Oh my gosh." And Beth was like, "Oh no, they're going to be scared of me because I'm a teacher." They've had a bad experience with like this. I mean, I don't know,
Authority.
we're theorizing, like, maybe that's what's happening, and so we told them, like, "Don't worry, like, she's a good teacher, she's the kinda teacher you should have had, and,
Yeah.
you know, is kind and good, and, she's the kinda teacher you should have you deserved to have, when you were here, and we're so sorry that you experienced that and stuff." But it was super interesting, and I never got that EMF field back in that spot again, for the rest of the night. So
But Beth, it was right when you said that.
Yeah, it
yeah,
was immediate because we were all saying we're mommies and grandmas and
yeah,
it stayed. And the minute I said, and I'm a teacher, and boom, gone, like fled. It was
yeah,
so bizarre.
yeah,
Well, yeah, Joe said kids skipping school afraid of getting caught. LOL. No, the teacher who was there was the woman that I was talking about, the abuser. She would chain them in the basement, chain them up and leave them
yeah.
down there,
They
chained
had, like, a
in the dark
little
basement.
pit. What did they call that? The little pit that they put them in?
Yeah,
They
I don't.
still have it
Yeah,
exposed there.
yeah.
When we first walked in and I walked to that, and then I don't, something was there. I got nauseous. I thought I was going to throw up. I mean, I had to go sit down. I was dizzy, and it took a few minutes. I mean, I'm like, is there a bathroom in this place? Because I was afraid it's going to throw up all over. But when I got away from it, it went away. But that was horrible. And in that pit that they have, they actually have kind of like a
Shame.
child's mannequin down there.
Mhm.
So it looks really bad. But yeah, that whole basement was just oppressive.
Yeah, Joe said, "Oh, gotcha." So they were generally scared of Beth because of her being a teacher. Yes, they were terrified. And Beth usually says, "I'm a teacher," because then the kids come to her, because most kids, little children have good experience with teachers. So she was just explaining, I'm around children all the time and I understand children, and usually children go right to Beth. And so that made her feel really bad because usually that's a good thing when she says, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I'm out of here then. And then you realize it really hits home what those kids went through, that even in death, that they're still
Afraid.
terrified of all that.
Yeah.
It's awful. I mean,
I did also that so at Jenny Wade was the first time I had ever heard a child's voice come through on the Estes. I I did hear children's voices come through. I could not make out what they were saying on the Estes method the second night,
at
but I
the
was yeah, at the orphanage. But it was again, and those are the only times I've experienced that. And I thought that was so interesting. Um, you know,
You felt the children around you too when you were down there, didn't you?
yeah, yeah, that's right
They were
because
gravitating towards her.
yeah.
I got
Behind you.
I could feel it at one point and I was getting really sometimes it impacts me and like physically I get like shaky like and like just a lot of energy, I guess. So I was feeling that and I think we were asking like and I said I think there's someone right here, isn't there? And the flashlights lit up and stuff and
Said yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got all that on that recording that I wish we could play, but it just wouldn't transfer over. I know that Beth got worried about me and Dan at one point in the orphanage, right?
Mm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I really felt, I think I was like almost in a trance. I, um, I told Beth later, it felt like this sounds weird, but it felt like my brain was floating. I felt really weird. And then I got up and started to walk into the other room. And I think I scared Beth half to death because she thought something bad was going to happen to me. But I just felt compelled to go in the other room. And I think now, after I've been away from it, she was probably in there. That woman was probably in there in the other room. And I did not go in.
We also have to be really careful when Jess was talking about getting shaky and feeling like cold and shaky. I always describe it as like bone chill. That is also a time when a spirit is passing through your body and it will give you that feeling. So we always have to be really mindful of that because they can take over. And we don't want that to happen. When I
Right.
see somebody going into like a trance like state, which can be safe if you're doing it yourself, but it also can be a sign of someone trying to take over.
But I was in that state, and Dan was in that state at the same time, and he was sitting down beside me over to the right a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what that was, but
Well, I remember there was one point because because they were more the responses were coming from Jess, got more response, and I think that's because the children kind of gravitated for you over there. But then at one point, because it was dark in there, but then there's a long hall, and then there's a real dark room beyond that we were not in. And Les had put down those little cat balls
Yes.
through the hall, and like 2 feet apart, down the hall. And at one point, all of a sudden, one light went on, the other light went on, and the other light went on. And then it's almost like the kids stopped talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
was almost like that you
She
could
entered the
feel
room.
something had come into the room, because
She entered the
those
room.
balls never went off again. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only time. It was just those 1, 2, 3 in a row. And
That dark
nobody was
room,
walking over there.
that hall in that dark room is right where I was headed.
Yeah.
Just gonna
But
go
that
in
was
here. So
that was wild. And then everybody
Yeah.
kind of wanted, we don't want to be anywhere with it. We're not all together. This is too strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That
did
was
stay
not
all
a-
together.
So it was a completely different feeling from the Jenny Wade house.
Oh my
Totally
gosh.
different.
Jenny Wade was light and fun and happy, and I mean, they were happy that we were there.
Buzzing.
They said they were happy that we were here. We said, I asked one time, are you glad that people come here? Are you happy to have people come here? And not only did she turn on the flashlight, but she turned on the REM pod for a really long time.
That
And
happened to Joy and us upstairs. It was like, are you happy? And it was everything came on at once. Like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like being in Casper's home and then being in Freddy Cougar's home.
Yes. Jenny Wade being Casper's home and
being Casper.
working to be Fred Krueger. But it was like Rick, the docent, said, you have some powerful people here. And he said they always get really happy when there's a lot of powerful people here that can hear them and feel them. And we were having a party. It was like the most amazing thing. And they had said that Jenny never talks. She talked with us. She responded to us. I happened to look up and found out that her name was Virginia and her nickname was Ginny, not Jenny. One journalist printed the name as Jenny twice, 2 different times. And it's been known as the Jenny Wade House ever since then. I mean, if people were calling me Jane,
Yeah.
I'm not going to respond. That's not my name. So when we started calling her Ginny instead of Jenny, she started responding to us.
So did Les.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, Wes.
That's what he said before. I'm the same.
Les said, Jenny, it's the same.
All the same to him.
I said, is Jen and Jen the same? He said, yeah, it's the same.
We have a really hard time with our friends named Kelly and Callie. Really hard time.
I bet.
They're all Kelly.
They're all
But anyway, Jenny Wade never lived in that house. It was her sister's. It was Georgia's. It was her house, and she and her husband. And just so many things about that family. It just was so wrong. Like the sisters were named Virginia and Georgia. So then people accused them of being Confederate, sympathizers, and were very mean to them in that town. It's like, oh my gosh, people.
Because they had to be named after the states that were Southern. That was ridiculous.
But some
It
things
is
never
ridiculous.
change.
Some
Some
things never
change
change.
at
I
all.
know. It's like, Gee whiz. Yep. Just as bad then as it is now. It's like, talk about prejudice. But anyway, did anybody else have anything that they really impacted them that they'd like to share?
It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was impacted me, but we were downstairs where they had that cabinet. There were like a bunch of different little artifacts in it or whatever. And I was just walking around and I was not actually feeling anything except when I turned my back on the cabinet. And I said to you, Beth, I said, for some reason, that piece of wood in there, it's just giving me a really creepy feeling whenever I turn away from it. And you read the card, I think, and it was where she died. They pulled up
That piece of wood.
that piece of wood. Yeah.
Wow.
Not that, yeah. And it wasn't like, it was just, it was unusual because I was feeling actually nothing down there except when I was there. And even though there were other things in the case, I just kept visualizing almost like, and this sounds really weird, but because I don't mean this literally, but almost like that piece of wood was like, hey, you know, it was that sort of feeling. It was, and yeah. And then I was like, why? But then you told me. I was like, well, that was crazy.
I love it. That's really crazy. That's so cool. Jenny was 21. She was the only civilian killed in the Battle of Gettysburg, and it's now called the Jenny Wade House. She never lived in it. It was her sister's house, and she was just there to help her sister because her sister was pregnant, and her sister's husband, her sister Georgia, and Georgia's husband was fighting someplace else, and it's just incredibly sad. So the fact that they had so much fun while we were there really makes me feel happy that they had,
when you think about it, they're open for tours and tourists going through every couple of hours,
all day
long, especially in the summertime. Well, that's when most of their business is. So to get people that really are asking, thoughtful questions,
Right. Showing that they care.
and wanting to be around them and hang out with them, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Willing to play with the little boy. Yeah. When Jesse was talking about the Estes method and about hearing a child's voice, what happens is, what people believe, some people, is that the spirit can talk over the voices on the radio. And when you hear it, you really can tell the difference between when it's spirit talking and when it's just, voices on the radio, because the spirit box is nothing other than an FM radio that is going forward and backwards from different
scanning
through all the stations really, really fast. And so
creating white noise.
You'll pick up words every now and then, but there's distinctly difference when it's a spirit talking over that. And that's why Jess could tell that it was a child.
And it's going fast enough that you can't pick out complete sentences.
Oh, no.
No.
Until you clearly get one. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep. Right. Until the spirit says one. Yeah, that's what he meant. Yeah.
Well, I do hear not like I hear snippets of sentences.
Snippets, yeah, but not complete. And also in relationship to the questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty odd.
I mean, I don't know what the questions are. When you're doing it, you're not hearing the questions even. So
when they come in, when they answer a question that had been asked a minute beforehand, it's pretty significant, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
hard to dispute that's not real.
I'm sure it makes a big difference.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sure it makes a big difference when we're able to, rather than people being there all day, when we're able to have that time to our, quiet time to ourselves and everything. I really appreciate you guys inviting us, because it was a wonderful experience.
It was great. It's really
was
fun.
fun.
Yeah, I want to do it again sometime.
It
We
was
will.
great getting to
Hey.
see it through your eyes. Although we were afraid that Jenny Wade House had ruined you.
No, I was no, but it was just like, oh boy, was this worth the drive?
Yeah.
Most of us start at the bottom of the hill. You started up at the top.
Yeah.
I know.
Like
But
they're gonna
I'm
be
sure
so
that you
bored.
learn from everything. You know, everything you'll do,
Yes.
you learn more.
Uh-huh.
I agree, because that's what I was telling you guys while we were there, is that there are some nights when it's really I like the experiences where we go and we are using the same equipment and we are the same people, same group of people, and we're doing the same thing and where nothing's happening, because it's it validates your experiences when you have a lot of things happening, or even just something happening. It's like, oh, okay, well, same ingredients, different result. So I do like it when we have those really slow investigations where nothing really happens, and I do learn from it and find it validating for the other experiences too. It's like valuable in its own way.
I agree.
That makes sense. Yep.
Beth, you were going to say something earlier?
I forget.
Oh,
I'm sorry if I
No, you didn't. It's me. It's been a long couple weeks.
what I think that I also like that because we've done this for a long time now, right? And everybody here has done it for a long time, except for Robin and Joy. And so it's still, though, when an unseen person turns a flashlight on and off, it's still amazing. I mean, every time. I never get old. It never gets old. You never get tired of it. You're always like, what the heck? And then your brain is thinking, there must be something that's doing that. This can't be real. So, like what Jess is saying is, when there's nothing happening, you realize, okay, there really is something to this. Somebody is turning that on and off. They're answering questions intelligently, and then to be able to look up stuff afterwards and verify that what you heard and what they were saying, answering to, actually is what happened. It's it's mind blowing. It really is.
After we went through all the stuff, all the evidence the other day, we got to thinking, well, that I hope there's nothing wrong with the light. Was it
Because it was going
because it
on
was
and off
going off so much? So we took them out of the case,
Again.
out of the closet, took them out of the
Again.
case, put them over on where we could see them, and set them all up and got them all ready. They did not turn on for hours. They never did turn on. So it's like, okay.
I mean, I really, to this day, I still have to double check that.
Yeah, we have to go back and.
Joe says, I think you're right, Jess. The consistency of how you do the investigations helps the believability of the results when you have some action happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew you
read it
meant
that way.
consistency. I read it that way. Yeah. It's like, I meant consistency. Yeah. It's. Like-
I was just going to say, I think Terry had one of the flashlights, and it's like, they're just a flashlight. It's not like you buy a Hocus Pocus one from the Hocus Pocus shop. You can't.
I would
you
like
can't
one of
turn-
those though.
you turn it off or on. And when after they turned it off or it just barely loses, it gradually loses the light.
And you can't do that.
You can't make that do that. You
Right.
can't, there's nothing you can do. Even if you pull the battery, it'd just go off.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. They're just
Well,
your
we saw that
standard
on
things.
we saw that on the little clip. When she turned it off, it started flickering a little bit and then faded, and then finally turned off. We've tried to do that so many times. You
Right.
can't physically do it. It's
It's
either
clearly,
on or off.
sorry, it's clearly energy. It's clearly the
Yes.
energy changing and coming back in.
You know, and
Yeah.
those little cat balls that you just get at the pet store. I mean, you know, there's no hocus pocus there. They either something
Right.
moves them or it doesn't. And if there's nobody around him and nobody's moving, you know, and then they come on command. I mean, I don't know how you could do that. I mean,
Yeah.
those were the most fascinating things. That's why I almost put Jess's eye out. Like, oh my God.
Les
Well-
actually bought those from the Hocus Pocus store.
That's right. As cat balls, they cost 42 cents, but as paranormal equipment, it's like $12.
Yeah.
Well,
So you just buy
I-
the 42-cent cat ball.
Buy the
That's it.
cat ball.
Yeah.
I've also never seen the cat balls
What?
What is
activate on an investigation before that. So it was cool
Yeah.
for me too. I was like, okay. Like I mean, we've brought them on investigations before. I've never seen them.
Sit there,
do anything.
Don't do anything. So when they
Yeah.
And then, you know,
very excited.
and then everybody tried to walk like around them and see
Yes.
if they could make it, you know, go off by walking around them or anything. And they didn't, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you had to get like right next to it and stomp your foot for it to come on.
The
Yes.
same with the
So-
REM pod.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be right up on it for it to do anything, you know?
Right.
And oh my gosh, they were using that thing downstairs and upstairs so much. It was like constant to where you're just like,
It was like a party.
step away from the REM pod, please.
Yes.
You're gonna wear
I
the
wish
battery.
I'd had a picture of Jess's face when she said, "Oh, can't you just turn that noise off?" And boom. It's like, we all were about dying laughing.
Thank you. Yeah.
It
Yeah. It
does-
was like, thank you. But like the constant noise is like a lot. Can you please?
Agreed. It is after
Yeah.
a while.
It was so much that it was getting like too much. Like
Yeah.
They were having really a lot of fun. Georgia was having so much fun turning, and we would be talking amongst ourselves. And I saw this on the tape, and she would agree with something that we were talking about, and she'd turn the flashlight on. And I mean, it was we hadn't even asked her the question, but it was like, well, I'm going to be part of this conversation.
Right, part of the party.
More of it if y'all want to.
Yeah, we can. You want to watch a little bit more of the tape? When Joe says, there have been too many stories and instances over the years reported by totally unrelated people around the world for it not to be true. Yep, that's true.
something people are experiencing, right? Like
Right.
Yep.
And we're always our biggest doubters. We
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
investigate things over and over before we actually are like, okay, I can't find any real reason for this to happen.
yeah.
So we're
Right.
normal.
Like I said, we went ahead and checked the flashlights again when we came home from this trip because we were like, that was going on and off all the time. How do we know somebody was really doing it? Maybe there's something wrong with the flashlight. No, same one we've been using for 15 years. My goodness, the black one. You wanted to run some more
Or
of
we
the
can,
video?
or it's almost an hour and a half. We can
Oh,
end
yeah.
up if you
Maybe
want.
we should end up, huh?
What do you guys want to do?
Maybe we die.
Well, we're with you.
Where are we?
We're on that side.
How much was left of it?
There's at least an hour left of stuff
Oh, well,
happening.
well, that might be a little much, but
I'm out.
I'd really, I mean, I'd like to see some of the next time, some of the one upstairs. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Joe
that one-
Conjal said it's like all the people who think we're alone in all of outer space, right, Joe? Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. Laura said,
think
I'm
you are.
finding it very interesting. Okay, we'll do a little bit more of the video then.
I would like to see some of the Estes method because I still,
Yeah.
other than little
me too.
bits that I've heard, I don't know what I was answering.
Right.
Like, there's been a couple things that I've been told. I think just the other day we were out to breakfast and mom and dad were like, yeah, and you said this and we had asked this. And I was like, oh, that's what you had to ask? Like, I still don't know. I'm like, it means cool, but like I had no idea. So
We
I would like to
actually
see it.
have that too. We have that whole thing of Jesse.
Oh, yeah,
We've
yeah.
got that.
Yeah.
We can play that some night. That's an hour and a half long, but we can play snippets of it. I mean, especially like the part where Beth says very quietly, the
Oh, are you
last
talking
time
about the
I'm
Mace
talking
Stringer?
about I'm talking about May Stringer
Oh, okay. I
when
was
you
still
did it.
talking about Jenny Wade upstairs.
Oh
Yeah, that
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That
No, I
one
know
was.
you're talking about Jenny
Yeah.
Wade upstairs, but I'm saying we haven't played all of that where Beth said very quietly, you know, the last time I was here, I was scratched. And you just immediately go, that was the cat. And we all laughed because we thought that he was blaming the cat for something he did. Then we go downstairs after it's all said and done, and we're getting ready to leave, and we tell the docents what he said because we thought it was so funny, haha. And they said, "Oh, we do have a ghost cat here. You didn't know that?" And we were like,
Actually, those docents were so funny, and they were like, "We have a cat!" Like they were like, "We have a ghost cat! Oh my gosh!" So I was actually very excited.
"Okay." So Laura said, "Do you still have plans to get to Rubidoux Creek in Missouri?" Yeah, we'd like to sometime.
We haven't made any plans
We
yet,
haven't made any
but we
plans
want
though.
to still
But
do that.
yeah, we do. And see your big shadow figure. Fire it up. That would be interesting to see that footage. Oh,
Right.
well, we don't have the footage of Jesse up in.
No, but we have a little more footage.
We
to
have a little
watch,
bit
so,
more footage of Gettysburg.
Yeah,
But we'll do a show where we do our findings from
let's pick this up
May Stringer.
where we left off.
Oh,
I feel like there's something else she wants to say.
I do too.
Anyone have
There's
any
a little
idea?
Pippin.
Or we can ask her yes or no that she might want to communicate. Georgia, was your baby born healthy? You can either turn the flashlight on or you can go near the room. Yes.
Yes, yay.
Congratulations. I'm so
That's good
happy.
news.
That is really good news. If you had a boy, will you turn the flashlight off?
Is that the REM pod? My ears ring.
That's the REM pod.
So to confirm that, if you had a boy, will you turn the flashlight off?
and I said that because she turned the REM pod on when I said, "Did you have a boy?" So now I want to make sure that we're understanding her and we're asking her to turn the flashlight off.
Maybe they're communicating.
Yeah.
They're communicating with something up there. It does sound like Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, she took a flashlight up with her, I think.
She
Yes,
has
she
the
did.
Boo Bear and she has the cat ball.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
There, she turned it off.
Good job, thank you. Okay,
Georgia, is your son with you? Turn the flashlight on if he is with you,
or the REM pod.
or the red box.
She seems to like the REM pod.
Mm.
Maybe he's very good
It
at
probably
feeling.
is easier.
He's not with
Georgia, I feel like we keep us.
her. Oh, maybe he is.
Is it still blue in there?
No, it's blue
No,
and
it's
red.
blue
Oh,
and
it's
red.
both.
Blue, red, yellow.
No, it's
Oh,
blue.
like no.
Wow.
Just to be clear, because, we're not sure. Is your son here with you? If he is, could you make the REM pod turn on again? Oh, you turn on the flashlight? Okay, great. That's very good. I'm very glad
You're
he's
very
with you.
good at this.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. It's probably not the first time she's used these.
Mhm. Do you like it when people come here and speak with you? If yes, could you either turn the flashlight off or turn the REM pod on? Which you are doing a great job, by the way. Okay, so yes, she does like it when people come. Oh, yes, that's amazing.
A double
Yes,
yes.
and I was just
I
wondering about
know.
cycling with the air conditioning. There's no
Can you
noise,
pause
it's
it there
just
for a
dull
minute?
sounding now.
Okay, so what you heard was Beth there saying that was good. She was glad that that was happening because she was wondering if anything was in sequence with the air conditioning happening. So, like Beth said earlier, we're constantly double checking ourselves and making sure that, we're not reading something into something that isn't there. But
And
anyway,
when we ask about the lights on the REM pod, what color the lights are, some of the lights will just light up just if there's a change in temperature. But when all of those lights light up, that means there is some contact with that REM pod. So we are always checking to see what lights are coming on and which ones, so we can know what type of interaction it is.
yep, exactly.
I'm not sure how much more we have.
All right. Let's go a little longer with this and see what else we've got here.
Amen.
Maybe going over to sit down.
Oh, yep. I think this is the end.
Okay. There we go.
So that was what we were talking about. Everything that we said that had happened, you just saw it. Laura says that she recently talked with someone who said she'd seen the same shadow figure that she and her husband had seen when they were up there. Anyway,
In Gettysburg?
At Rubidoux Creek in Missouri. Is
Rubidoux
that
Creek
what?
in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Where is that in Missouri? What's that near? Is it near St. Louis or
Southeastern corner.
southeastern?
Closer to Cape
Okay.
Girardeau, in that area.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
There
It's
are a
on
lot
the
of
Trail of Tears, so it may be indigenous, people. What were you going to
Near
say,
Fort
Beth?
Leonard Wood.
there are many haunted locations that we can check out in Missouri. So that
yeah.
would be a great trip.
That's
It would
within
be.
striking distance.
She would like us to find out what it was that they had seen. It was huge and black in a mass, And I said, well, the indigenous tribes, some of them have watchers that are described like that, especially where on sacred ground where things have happened. They
Like the Trail of Tears.
like the Trail of Tears. They're there to make sure nobody messes with their people. And they're not human. They're not human. They're called watchers. So
Just saying,
many
Missouri's closer to me.
You're like, I'm down for Missouri.
You were also talking about Jersey at some point, that one guest you had.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, our friend
Yeah.
Genevieve, our sweet Genevieve. Yes, that would be a crazy place. I mean, that place is so amped up because there's people in there all the time doing all kinds of things that
Yeah.
it's really hopping. I mean, I got a headache just looking at the mirror. If you guys remember, I'm like, whoa. Whoa. She said other
Well,
people have had too.
I was gonna say to Laura, it's cool when somebody can like validate an experience that you had, like
Yes.
that, and go,
Yeah.
hey, I saw something in the same place. That's always really exciting. So that's very cool and exciting.
That another person saw it. Saw the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah. She
Yeah.
would just like to know what the heck is it,
Mhm.
and why is
Yeah.
it there? Yeah.
In case you lose me, my battery's running low. I couldn't get to where I am. I couldn't get my
Charger.
charger in here. So
She said, yes, we are very curious what it was. That's why why Rob was using the rig, was because there was no place for us to plug in a static camera when we were downstairs,
Yeah,
which
very few outlets.
Yeah.
They were all taken.
they were all taken. They were all being used. So
This is really weird. You might lose me too, and I'm plugged in, but I'm almost
Well,
out
I
of
think
battery.
it's probably about time to. That
Wrap
would
us
be
up.
weird.
or
Or anyway,
It
did you buy it at the Hocus Pocus shop?
That's the only place I shop.
I love that. We're gonna have to be talking about the Hocus Pocus shop for a long time.
We should open one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's what Genevieve did.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. She did.
After talking to us about it for years, she did it. And there's a lot of stuff in there, boy. Oh my gosh. Just filled with haunted stuff.
Before I disappear, I'm going to run. I have another extra plug, but before I disappear, I thought maybe another episode could be different clips of all of you doing the Estes method.
Yeah.
So there seems to be, interest in that. And I'm just going to step right over here. I'm going to mute myself and muted myself too
That's
soon.
what it
In case I
does.
don't disappear, I'll be back. And
It
that's
works.
I'll be right back.
System check complete.
That was too funny.
Yes, it was very funny.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the Estes method is really interesting. I'm thinking back to the Hill House when we were there in Texas, and Beth was doing it, and I was asking questions, and that stupid thing that was talking was really trying to scare us. It was so ridiculous. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You better
And it was being
run.
rude too. It was saying some
Yeah.
ugly
Rude
things.
words that you didn't
There's a shadow.
repeat. Yeah, there's a shadow person in Robin's house, should we tell her?
Yeah, look, I see it there.
Yeah.
Oh no, we lost Joy.
Joy.
We lost
Ooh.
Joy. Her battery literally ran out, like she said.
What is that, a spirit?
We're dropping like flies.
Joy is buffering. You look like a shadow person.
When you came in the room. Yeah.
I can't find the other plug now. It was right here.
Oh
Oh.
my gosh.
Off the air.
Well, we should probably wind up anyway.
All right.
Yeah,
We
we'll
should,
wrap
but we will wind.
Hour 40.
This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, we will try and do some snippets like that of the Estes method. That would be really good. We should really show you guys some stuff from the May Stringer, and we're going there again in November, so we'll be able to film some more. Joe Conchel said, I really enjoyed the show. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad I got to catch it tonight, even though the reason I was able to kind of stinks.
Yeah, it does
Darn
stink.
those voice of indie technical difficulties. Amen. Paul Hollis said, impressive show, folks. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for hanging in
for
there.
hanging in there, everybody. And really, if
Yeah.
you have any questions or you want us to investigate anything or look into something, we're happy to do that. We're happy to do the research and find out what we can for any of your paranormal questions. And, oh, yeah.
Tampa Bay Spirits 1.com. And you can get in contact with us through that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or you can go to our Facebook page and ask on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, if we don't get suspended. At any rate, yeah, next show should be September 19th, I believe. I'd have to double check the calendar, but who watches, we will post it.
It's not the last Thursday next month either, because we'll
No,
be
Good to
traveling.
know.
we're going to be gone again.
We'll send you a note.
That's a good idea.
We're sorry.
I was
Okay.
one chest press
Sorry.
into a workout.
I'm sorry.
I was like I was like one, I did one, and my phone started ringing, and I was like, I'll get it when I'm done with my workout. I did two, and then I was like, it's Mom. I should probably answer it. I like put down my barbell, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh no!
Always wise.
Said you're
Running in.
That's the
we're
same thing.
one minute away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I
I
said
wanted
you're
to
I
one
thought I had-
minute away from your time. What?
Yeah, I
Les?
thought I had 2 weeks yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
And I didn't. Sorry.
Yeah.
yep.
That's okay. Everything worked out good.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a good show.
If you find stuff, then we can talk about it on the next show.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah.
planned anything yet, so
Yeah.
why don't we do that? Because you may have a whole bundle of good stuff there.
And we can also look up some of the May Stringer stuff and do little edits from that too, because
Yeah.
we got a lot of interesting stuff there too.
Yeah.
And we're
So-
going there again in November.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. November 9th.
Okay. Well,
Let's go look up.
all right. I guess.
What? Joy said, sorry, her computer said goodnight. And she said, me too, great show.
I have my phone on mute, and that keeps
What the
happening.
heck is
So
that?
I don't know how
Is it an alarm?
it's not in any alarm that I have on my phone.
It's supernatural.
Gremlins.
Anyway, I guess that's it.
That's all,
Right.
huh?
So until next time.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye, folks.
Hi, thank
Thanks
you.
for watching.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.